Glen Simons, the name might ring a bell for a couple of you. He's a 71-year-old man who has been exonerated in Oklahoma after spending 48 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. In the US history, he is the longest known person who has been wrongfully convicted of a crime. If I'm not mistaken, he spent exactly 48 years, 1 month, 18 days in prison. Oklahoma judge finally released him. Now he's 71 now, and just imagine after spending 48 years in prison, it will take easily another 10 years to get over from the psychological distress and the mental trauma. And that means well nigh his life will be over. He gets to live till 100. What will be the quality of life left? Basically, his entire life has been snatched away from him. How unfair is that? If you look at cases like this, it will feel like the universe is very unfair place. There's no sense of justice. As if there are any cosmic forces, they are all acting against the man. And finally, when it favored the person, it doesn't make any sense, almost. But when I look at lives like this, what sense does it make? Is there a bigger sense of right or wrong at all in interplay? Or is just completely farce? It's just randomly misfortune struck somebody. There's a very favorite word of social media. That is what? Convenient outrage or situational morality. No, I guess because people who are working, people who have a family to take care of, who have to take care of their own survival, they are so busy that they cannot get outraged on every bad things. That doesn't mean that they don't get to care, but our life has become so busy with such a rapid pace, which is almost dysfunctional, that we are increasingly stopping to feel for what is happening with our fellow human beings in the world. We are almost being systematically being made into a robot. I don't think the biggest challenge is AI, but anyway, I will talk, I'm digressing. And anyway, this is going to be a free-flowing conversation, so I will digress. There's no script, there's no preparation. I'm going to talk about certain things based on my experience. In Hinduism, there are 4 types of karmas. These are Sanchita karma, Prarabdha karma, Agami, and Kriyamanna. Out of all these 4, Sanchita karma is explained in Hinduism as something which is carried from one's lifetime. Now, I have been asked this question that, do I believe in such stuff or not? First of all, it doesn't matter whether I believe in anything or not, because these are not such things which can be proven in laboratory conditions. But that doesn't make it any less of a science, because there are many things. Dark energy also cannot be proven in laboratory conditions. It's on a much higher spectrum that we are talking about. If you look at the life of this man, even if I think that he has committed grave misdeeds, suppose this man was very bad, hypothetically, and did a lot of things, still that would not have measured up with the punishment that this person has got. Now, the only way for us to make sense of it, that why this happened. Because when anything bad happens with us, that's the first thing that keeps on bothering us. Once we get over it, is that why it happened with me, right? Why me? Why me is a little bit egoistic, but more than that, it's like, to understand that why I'm going through this situation. And there, if nothing actually in your lifetime you did, which commensurate for you to get a result or the punishment that you got, that's the kind of thing that you explain, that you are carrying something from your past, for your past actions. The seeds of destructions were within you. And you have to pay off that debt. So that's how the karma is interpreted. Karma is nothing but action. And subsequently, what you earned by doing that action. The energy that you give out, the same thing will come back to you. For example, mass energy transformation. Now, it's important to understand that the fundamental concept of karma is morally agnostic. By that, I mean that it doesn't mean that you have to be a very good person who is only doing good deeds for you to have good karma. Because karma is not good and bad. Karma is just neutral action. Just the energy that you are emanating, that same energy will come back in some shape or form to you. That's the fundamental edifice of karma. And this is not just in Hinduism or in Eastern religions. In Christianity, also the concept of karma is pretty much prevalent in terms of some preordained judgments, which takes place after death, based on the life actions of the person. In Jainism, there are actually 8 types of karma, they say. So basically, every sect, religion, belief system interpreted this concept in their own way, but the fundamentals are very same. In Jainism, it is believed as measure for measure, or in a very simple way, what we say that what goes around comes around. Now, ancient Greeks believed that we are all just bound by a predetermined fate. They say that nothing happens without a reason. When we interpret that, it's nothing but them trying to talk about the complex nuances of karma. Now, how this plays out exactly is very complex. Almost, it can hit you only at an intuitive level. Like you are going through something, and you can understand that if something of similar sort happened in your lifetime, in this lifetime, which is part of your memory, your brain can immediately send signal that this is a similar incident. Sometimes this can come back as a feeling of deja vu, right? But if it is part of completely different lifetime, and now comes whether I believe in reincarnation, if you ask me that question. Our belief systems are formed based on our experience, our knowledge, how much we are actually interested and invest to know about the subject, and how deep we are ready to go in order to experience that also. So, yes, if you ask me, I do not believe that in a straightforward way of reincarnation, that this lifetime I am like this, and next lifetime I'll be born as another human being, or a cow, or a donkey, or a tiger. I don't believe like that. Such a straightforward, way of looking at it. But I do not believe that death is the finality. It's the finality for our way of looking at things. In this three-dimensional world, this is the finality. But right now, for example, there are four-dimensional beings who can look at us. We don't know. It's not that aliens may be sitting next to you and you don't know. It's another matter that if they are looking at us from different stars, they are looking at us from several light years away. So they might be looking at our planet when dinosaurs existed. So if you learn to look at karma in the way of good things happen with good people and bad things happen with bad people, then that's a very oversimplistic way of looking at it. Karma is not just a spiritual concept. It's inextricably linked with universe, and that means there is a scientific explanation as well. But the scientific explanation can reach up only up to a certain point. Beyond that, after a certain point, science and philosophy gets very much intermingled. A lot of people explain karma in such a way of when they actually try to tie it up with science, they talk about Newton's third law of motion, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you have ever stubbed your toe, you must have noticed that even though your toe has initiated the impact, the surface has put an opposing direction force with equal magnitude on your toe. Now, usually we feel hurt and we do not think that this is a great example of Newton's third law of motion. That's not how karma works, though. That you do something and then in opposite direction, something will come back to you. In pop culture, that's why when they relate karma with revenge, like something bad happened to me and I perceive that you did this with me. So either I will do that back to you or somebody else will do that to you. It's very oversimplistic. There are many nuances we are missing here. That's where, if you look at it, the ancient Greeks, the pre-Columbian, Native Americans, Europeans, they all have explained another interlinked concept called causality, which is a part of a theology. This causality is very much interlinked with karma, which is a cycle of cause and effect. It's like, it's a cycle. So, for example, this entire universe is conscious, and it has been proven that the universe is conscious. I mean, it's a conscious entity in itself. The universal consciousness that we talk about, right? So, karma is the fundamental thread that binds the universal consciousness together. So, it's a way of the universe playing out its own consciousness. So, the way I would like to look at karma is that's how the universe actually taking care of its energy. That's how the energy is getting redistributed. And that happens through multiple cycles. That's why if you look at your life, if you are self-reflective enough and have lived enough, you can look back at your life and you see that every 7 years or every 9 years, there is a major theme playing out in your life. One major theme. You can look at it this way. Uh, there are so many things happening in our life, right? So if you look at a big time span of 9 years, there are so many things happen with your life. You say that there's no single theme. There are many, many things happen. But if you can really dig deeper, you will see that there's one major lesson that is coming out from all of this. If you look at it, so that's how it's played out cyclically. Now it can start from a very microcosmic level to it goes to an astronomical level. Another way of if you want to bring science into it, and I'm just doing this only for the sake of those who always try to interpret everything from the spectrum of science, because otherwise they find it very difficult to believe. There is a concept called quantum entanglement. This basically means that every particles in the universe are interacting with each other. So they are entangled in a system. Nothing here is made of its own. That's why I find the concept of self-made person, the phrase, I find it so ridiculous, because nothing exists on its own in this universe, if you look at it. Uh, I know why they are said that self-made, but there is nothing, nobody is self-made. Your environment, your upbringing, who decides in which family you will arrive? Do you have any control on that? The milieu, probably this person, had he been born in a different era or even in a different time, if, had he been executed in a different court, perhaps the result would have been different. But this is how exactly it is played out. Now, is it just a random thing that is happening with no intelligent system governing all this? That's the question we have to ask, because the entire, if you look at it, even from a very stringent scientific prism, if you look at the universe, things are so big and complex that it will look like there is absolutely zero pattern and it's total madness and chaos out there. And even the history of this earth is very violent. And till now, if you go deep into the inner core, it's a very violent place, the planet we are living in. But still, the more and more you will have an expansive vision, you will see that there are certain laws that are playing out in this universe. And karma is essential in edifice which actually governing that. Like, what is quantum entanglement? Very simple way to explain this is, there are two trees. The moment one tree falls sick, there's a underground, there are networks within trees. And one tree sends the distress signal that I am sick. Immediately the neighborhood trees sends out nutrients to the sick tree and try to make it healthy. Now there comes a point when they stop sending this, either when the tree has recovered or just look at how intelligent the entire system is. And these are, I'm talking about trees, who are also conscious beings. But for the longest time, science disregarded them as conscious beings. because they cannot work, they cannot fulfill some of the very basic things which we identify living beings with. Um, Now, when the sick plant, if it unfortunately goes to a point where it cannot recover, then also the system is so intelligent that other trees stop sending nutrients and other uh, chemicals to the tree to recover, because they realize that the tree is going to die soon and it is not going to recover. So there is a inherent intelligence nature has. This is a very simple example of universal consciousness. And quantum entanglement is all about how particles are also similarly interacting with each other. Now, we are all aware of the fact that we learn in school level physics that basic building block of the universe are neutron, proton, electron. But there are many other particles, right? There are fermions, there are bosons, up quarks, down quarks. I mean, it's limitless actually. If you look at it, I think it's 10 to the power 82, if I'm not mistaken, at the number of atoms in the world so far. Um, so that's the magnitude we are dealing with, even at a microscopic level. So at this point of time, I'm sitting here, I'm committing murder. How? Because I'm inhaling microbes, I'm killing them. They are getting into my gut, and I'm calling them, they will actually make my healthy gut bacteria somehow. Uh, I'm sitting, I may not notice, I may squash few ants under my feet. Now, I did not intend to do it. It happened. All these are involuntary process happening. I'm still committing a karma. But that is different from me looking at the fact that there is a living being, suppose a cockroach or an army of ants, and I am actually consciously killing them. The karma is different. Because there my intent come into play, that I actually have observed it. And the moment I observe something, quantum mechanics says that that is the moment the reality come into being to me. So unless there is a conscious observer, and if you have seen my Oppenheimer video, you will understand this better, because I have explained this with Schrodinger's thought experiment. These are very complicated concepts. If you have never heard about it, it's very difficult to get everything from one discussion. But this might just broaden your mind and make you curious to research for yourself a little bit more if you are interested in this subjects. And it's okay if you don't believe in karma. There is something called cognitive bias. And if you believe in something very staunchly, for example, you don't believe in any of this, like you think these are all pseudoscience, these are all numbo jumbos, uh, people talk about such things, doesn't have any existence. If you are a staunch believer of that, the more I will talk about it, the more you will actually go back to your previous belief system, because your mind is shut. So you will not actually embrace it, or you will not even be open enough to actually explore it for yourself. Cognitive bias says that your original thought, it's a part of confirmation bias actually, that your original thought will get reinforced, that there is none of it. The more I will try to convince, so I'm not trying to convince anybody here, I'm just trying to explain how these work. So coming back to quantum entanglement, so the quantum entanglement fundamentally says that whatever happens has an impact on all other particles. So everything is interconnected, they are entangled. A very similar concept is called butterfly effect. You know that, right? That if a butterfly flaps its wings in California, it can create a storm in Chicago. And you can check that out in Google if you do not believe that. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that one butterfly will flap its wing in one place and it will create a typhoon in another place. It's not so simplistic again. Butterfly effect is a part of chaos theory when it says that a small change in the initial event can have a great impact in a nonlinear deterministic set of events. Even a very tiny change in the initial state of a matter can have a great impact on the outcome, which is totally unfathomable and can appear completely unrelatable. Tie that up with the fact that we perceive that we have done something small, but the effect hit us very differently. And we feel that it's karmic injustice. Because, in my opinion, I haven't done anything so bad, for example, to get an outcome of this magnitude. Because here, what I am perceiving as small or tiny, we do not know how it impacts and what's the cascading effect of it. For example, say suppose you had a very bad day at office. Your manager is making your life living hell according to your perception, and you come back home and take out the temper, the pent up energy. I mean, that's a very common phenomenon, happens with us, right? We are under pressure, under stress, and the stress needs a way to release, and we are taking it out on somebody. That person is clueless about what happened with us, and they are, even if they know, they are not responsible for this, but we start actually nitpicking, and we start focusing on that person because we have to somehow pass on the negative energy, and we do it in the form of anger at times, outburst, or just being uncooperative or generally unpleasant. Now, these are all karmic chains playing out. Perhaps your manager behaved this way because he's also under tremendous pressure from somebody on the top, and he's taking it out, or his own anxiety he cannot manage. So whatever the tension that is building in his system, he's pushing that to you. You are pushing that back to other. Now that person who caught in surprise about this entire situation, they either give it back to you, saying that why you are doing this to me or whatever, or keep your attitude to yourself or whatever. They either give it back to you, or they go out and they take out on somebody else. So it's a chain. Now you see how the thread of karma is playing out. So this is all about action. Now I'm just giving a negative example. It can be very positive also. Somebody randomly complimented you on the road. You felt happy. You were not expecting it, even though this was also one of the situations beyond your control. But since it didn't cause too much of a threat to your control system, you are now happy. And you suddenly buy a gift for family members and come home when there was no occasion, no plan to give them. And now they feel happy because you're making them feel special. So suddenly it feels like a thread of positivity is kind of emanating in the entire system. So that's how karmic chains are created. That somebody else who is completely unrelated to you has done something minor, but ultimately it can cause a huge impact. So that is the butterfly effect, and it is part of something called chaos theory. Now, just by the name of it, you understand that it is not about any regimented structured system. So that's why the control, those who are very much, they control their environment. And especially it happens when we are working in a place where there is a predefined input and known output. We know what the client requirement is, and we are continuously working in the system that we know what we have to do to gain that particular outcome. So we are used to that process so much that we feel that's how the entire world is, because we started to live in that cocoon. We often fail to recognize that the entire world is completely beyond our control. There are so many things happening in our life which are beyond our control. And the more we get fearful of the fact that it is beyond our control, the more we start getting controlling towards what we can control. That's why you see that a lot of people say that take care of things which are within your control, don't bother about things which are outside of your control. That's a very unconscious way of saying be indifferent. Be indifferent, be just invested into things that immediately matter to you, and be totally ignorant or indifferent about things that are beyond your control, because you cannot change it anyway. So why bother? Right? This indifference is also a karma. Because if you see injustice and you do not raise your voice, that's your karma. Uh, Now, everybody cannot, do it in the same way, to the same extent, but uh, the fact that you have been a mute spectator of something wrong happened and you didn't do anything about it, the energy that you are giving is that you will also feel unsupported in life. Because at some point of time, when you will be in the need of others rallying behind you for something, you will not find people. You will see that playing out in life. And you may not immediately feel it. Let me give an Indian example. Vijay Mallya. Uh, his name often comes out when people talk about karma. So he was the liquid baron multimillionaire of India, who was also head of the Kingfisher Airlines. And some say that he has taken debts, 9,000 crore debts from 17 banks and failed to repay any of them. While at the same time, his firm was collecting income tax PF in the name of employees, whom also he didn't pay. And in 2016, he became a fugitive businessman. He fled from this country, and at the same time, while he was failing to repay, he was purchasing properties worth 300 crores in France and England. Read about this scam if you're interested. I do not know much about it, so I may not say all the figures very correctly here. So Kingfisher employees initially were outraged, those who lost their job. Suddenly, so many people's life got impacted, right? Because they stopped getting sudden salary and things like that because of the fraud that has happened. And he still has a great property on one of the skyscrapers in Bangalore. There's a palatial mansion of Vijay Mallya. So he was like, where is karma? Where is any sense of justice? And Indian police cannot do anything. Anyway, this is a good use case to discuss about karma. Because apparently he is living a pretty luxurious, comfortable life. He was known as the king of good times and still having good times. And very recently in one of the media clips, I saw him, Kingfisher Airlines, some of the protesters were shouting at him. Some media personnel were asking questions, and he was basically showing all his fingers so that you cannot touch my hair. You say whatever you want. So where is any karma here? Right? Again, Sanchita karma. Karma doesn't play in one lifetime. Right? So the entire karmic principle is this person or their lineage have created such a great acts for themselves that somehow, first of all, it is balancing. It is in balance. Number two, you do not know from an outside. You may see the luxurious lifestyle and everything, but you do not know whether the person gets sleep at night, whether they have any peace of mind, how their life is impacted actually deep down. You don't know. At the end of the day, a human being, unless somebody is a psychopath, serial killer, sociopath, who have a different kind of fabric altogether. Their blueprint itself is very different, but they have zero consciousness in terms of. I'm not saying that Mallya has remorse or not. I don't know, but it's not possible that it didn't cause him substantial amount of headache and unrest, because not being able to come to your own country, fleeing from place to place, it's a punishment of his own, right? So we do not know always. We may see that, okay, this is very small in comparison to what it did. He impacted the fates of so many families. But again, that's what we do not know exactly what has accrued, what will come in the future. Maybe we will get to see in this lifetime, maybe we will not. So the way we perceive it, we have a very limited perception, and anyway, outsider view. So, because when we talk about justice, our sense of morality, our sense of right or wrong, we project that. You have to understand that there are many other components to it. Sorry, I had to come back inside because some construction work was going on and there's a lot of noise. The way I'm talking about it seems like everything is preordained and, what we will do in some shape or form, it will come to us. So does it mean that there is zero free will that we can actually, implement in our life? It's a very debatable topic. Many people believe free wills exist, and I believe you can actually with your sheer will, with your determination. Because again, when you talk about free will, it means you are going to take some action against the energy flow, right? Against how things are going. You want to do something out of it. So you are trying to exert free will in a system of which you do not have a control. So that you have a control back, because you are exercising your free will. Who can tell that this free will also has not been given to you? That yes, this will be the enormous force pushing you towards that direction. But there is another opposing force which will make you feel that is your independent thought. You will not be a pawn of the hand of this cosmic system and you will act against it. Who says that is also not another cosmic force interacting within your system? So you see, the concept of free will is again very debatable. And that's what happens with science, right? Beyond a point. That's why you see most of the great scientists, after a point of time, when they start thinking about cosmic forces, how the universe originated, when they start having these big questions and, they dabble with mathematical formulas, different concepts. And after some point of time, it almost intermingles with philosophy. Because there comes a point of time when everything cannot be mathematically proven like this. So yes, there are many things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.